Okay, this is our session on the annotated bibliography. First of all, I want to talk about what an annotated bibliography is. An annotated bibliography is a list of sources that you found and a basic summary of what the source tells you. So I'm going to share my screen and bring over my bibliography. Let's see. Let me go ahead and share this one and drag my bibliography over here. This is the same bibliography that you have as an example in the course. And I made this for another course, but it's still the same. So you'll see I've got the reference here, and the reference is done APA style. And then below that, I've got the summary. And what the summary tells me is what type of source it is. In this case, it's a peer-reviewed journal article, which is also called a scholarly source. And it tells me some about what this does. And in this particular article, it talks about measurement issues with the construction of job embeddedness, and it's trying to test a new measure of job embeddedness, and then what their study showed. So it should be a paragraph, and it should give us the condensed version of what the article's about. It should not be a copy and paste of the abstract. This will go through Turnitin, so it needs to be your own writing and what you learned from reading the article. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is finding sources. So I'm going to pop over here to the course. In the course, we have several blocks that we'll be looking at. Below the final exam, there's a block called Fraser Memorial Library Resources. And these are videos that the library created to help you. There's one on plagiarism that you should watch. There's one on scholarly versus non-scholarly sources you should watch. And then the introduction to Business Source Complete, which is where you should find all the articles that you need. You should really be able to find them here. Any articles that we don't have in our database, you should be able to get through interlibrary loan. And interlibrary loan, my experience has been, is pretty fast. I usually get most of my items in less than 24 hours. So when you're looking for sources that are appropriate for this class, let's look and see what we have to do. So we have to have at least 4 peer-reviewed journal articles. That's what the library also calls scholarly sources. And you have to have at least 2 other credible sources, and that's credible popular press or textbooks. And I'll come back to what credible means in a minute. You'll provide an APA style citation for each item that is going to have a hanging indent. It'll be double spaced. And under each citation, you're going to provide the summary of what the item tells you. You will first line indent the summary, and it will also be double spaced. Make sure you name the file correctly so that I will know which one's yours when I look at them. And then you're going to submit a Word file, a doc or a docx, and it should show no plagiarism in the summaries, which means less than a 5% match is what I'll be looking for. So let's pop off to a library database, and I'm going to start from the McNeese homepage. And when I look for the library databases, I can never find them on the web page, so I just search for them, library databases. And I'll start here at the library page. And they don't list Business Source Complete first, so I'll just go to databases by title. And Business Source Complete is the last one on the front page. Since I'm off campus, I have to have a username and a PIN. If you are off campus and you don't know what your PIN is, you can call the library and they can tell you how to log in. Do not wait till the last minute though, because the library might be closed. So I'm going to actually go and try and find this article by Crossley, which is the first one I reference. So I know that this is the title. And here's the article. So it says I can get it at the MSU library. Awesome. I happen to have a PDF of it. If you go to the library and you see it in print, you need to make a PDF copy of it. And the library does have scanners that produce PDFs. So one of the things that a lot of my students like to do is get the library to provide them with the citation. So if I click on it, I can go over here to Tools and I go Cite. And it gives me citation formats. ABNT, never heard of that one. AMA, APA, this is the one we'll use. And I'm going to grab this. A lot of my students just want to copy it. And then what they want to do, and I'll get a new piece of paper here, is they want to just paste it, right? The problem is it has all this background to it. So you can't just copy and paste it. What you can do is you can copy it, which I've already done. And then when you paste it as keep text only. And that will make sure that it doesn't have any of the background formatting to it. So this is the article citation. The only thing that's wrong is the DOI reference. DOIs should never have McNeese in it. So I know that that part is wrong. I'll take that out. So the rest of it is mostly correct. There is a problem with it though, and that is that APA style says you do not use sentence case. Sentence case means that you're capitalizing the most important words. That is not what APA style says. So while it might have the right information for the most part, and it might have it in the right order for the most part, not everything in the citations that you get from EasyBib or even the library databases is entirely accurate. So let's talk about what we need to fix here. Well, the first thing was the DOI was wrong, so I'm just going to take that right out. The second thing is should not be in sentence case, so I'm going to have to go back and change these so that we don't have capitalized words here. And it doesn't matter if in the article title these are all capitalized. I know that in this particular article they are all capitalized, but APA style says that we only capitalize the first word, or if it happens to have a colon in it, the very first word of the article title and the first word after the colon. So in the title of the article, we change all of that. Now in the name of the journal, we'll leave that alone. Okay, still not quite formatted right. Journal of Applied Psychology, as well as the volume, should be italicized. The issue number is not italicized. And we also need the DOI. So for this article, we were given the wrong DOI. So assume that the DOIs coming out of the database are probably going to be incorrect. There are currently two proper ways to do DOIs in APA style, but I'm going to show you the right one. So I'm going to just move this over here, and I'm going to take you to a site where you can find the DOIs, and it's called crossref.org. And this takes me right to the guest query, and here's where I'm going to look up the DOI. I'm going to use the search on article title. So I'll just copy and paste the article title. And the author's last name is Crossley. It does not, this is the first author's last name, doesn't have to be capitalized. And when I search for it, it gives me the DOI right here. This DOI is properly formatted, or almost properly formatted. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, this is fine. So where's my paper? Here we go. Bring it back over here, and I'll just paste the DOI in. Oh, look, it brought in all that formatting. Darn it. Okay, so paste with no formatting. So keep text only. Now it highlights it and it makes it a link, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's the first part. So I found a source and I've got it posted in there. So that is a scholarly source that I found from the library databases. Now I used just an article I already knew was there. If I need to find something else, I've got to do this paper, and the topic of the paper is what? Let's see, what's the topic of our paper? We're going to go in here back to the research. Jeez, man. The research paper. The research paper assignment tells you what it is, okay? So, and there's a link here to crossref.org. So your paper is on what? Your paper is on, I think the rest of the stuff is in here. Yes, go ahead, do that. Your paper is on, I know what it is, but I'm waiting to see it. Okay, come here. Your paper is on antecedents to turnover intention or antecedents to intent to stay. So these are both about retention. Your textbook only spends, I think, one chapter on retention, and retention is a much, much bigger issue. So we're going to look at antecedents to turnover intention or antecedents to intent to stay. Turnover intention is another way to say quit. So neither of these are about people being fired. This is about antecedents, which are things that come before people's intent to quit, and things that come before people's intent to stay at a job. So since those are the things that I need to be looking at when I go to the databases, I can look for turnover intention. Oh, look, turnover intention or intent to leave. Now I want to find, right now I'm just looking, no, I didn't mean to go. Turnover intention or intent to leave. What I want is it's assuming a lot. Thank you. I want scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and I want full text. Now I'm going to try turnover intention or intent to leave. And I'm going to search. The reason we want full text is because I don't want you to get returns where you can see the abstract of the article, but not the whole article. Now, I didn't tell it English only, so I'm not sure if this paper is actually going to be in English or not. This is the meaning of work as a predictor of the intention to remain or leave among teachers. Okay, so that's interesting. It's probably in Spanish, but sometimes these are actually bilingual. So I'm going to look at the PDF. The abstract's in English. Okay, that's good. Ooh, it is in English. Yay. So this is an article that I might want to download and save and keep part of. So if I'm going to download and save this, so you'll need to turn in PDFs. I'm going to download and save this. I need to save it in a particular way. And I tell you that you need to make sure that you name these PDFs after the first author's surname and the date. So this paper would be saved as Plano, and it's a 2018 paper, not 2018. And I know what date it is because over here it gives me the date. So I'm going to save that, and I'll come back and read it later. If you want to look at it now, I would recommend that you look at the abstract first and then look at the introduction and the literature review. Now this one has a little bit different format than a traditional article. So I'm going to go back to my result list, and I'm going to look at other articles. Okay, this one looks kind of interesting. I'm not skipping over these other ones for any other reason than I'm not feeling it, you know? There's nothing wrong with this article necessarily, or this one, but this one looks more interesting to me. Or excuse me, graduate's work experience, but that one looks pretty interesting too. So maybe I'll get organization identification. I'm okay. I'll try it. All right, so this one I'm gonna the first author's last name is Cho, and it's 2014. So I'm gonna download this one and save it as Cho 2014. And I'll go through and I'll find several different articles, and then I typically start reading after I found several that I like. So with this one, how does relative deprivation influence? I want to cite it first. Let's see, I want to go back, and I do want to cite it, but let me go here, and I'm going to get the citation, knowing that it's not going to be completely right, but I'm going to get it anyway because it still makes my life easier. I'm going to Control-C to copy it, and then when I bring it over here, I'm not going to Control-C to paste it. I'm going to right-click my mouse and use Keep Text Only. I'm going to go in. The DOI is wrong. It's got McNeese in it, so that's not a correct DOI. And it's, again, in sentence case. I'm going to have to fix all those, but, you know, might be easier than typing it. Oh, don't misspell things, though. Okay, now this is actually made up of 2 sentences, so the is going to stay capitalized, but I still got to fix these. Role of organizational identification. So this is the entire journal article title. Starting with human resource management, this is the title of the journal, and it is in sentence case, and the volume of the journal, and those are going to be italicized. And then I'm going to go see if this has a DOI, and it probably does, by popping out here to crossref.org. I'm going to paste that in, and the author's last name was Cho. Search. There's the DOI. I'm going to copy that. And then go back to my paper and right-click, keep text only. All right, so that's how I've gotten my article citations in here. So let me bring over one that's mostly done. This has all of my article citations in it. I haven't typed up my summaries yet, but I've got this stuff. So I've got to make sure it's got the right class in it, which is 315 7XB. And I've told you that this should all be single spaced. So you'll go up here to paragraph and take out the after spacing and make sure it's single. Then all of this should be double spaced. So again, take out the 8. That shouldn't be there, and it should be double spaced. Yay, okay, I got that much. Now, the word references should be centered. It should not be bold. It should just be centered, and it actually should be double spaced too, but not 8 points after. Each of the references, so I haven't put any of the summaries yet in, the references should all have a special indentation of hanging. And what that does is it makes the first line poke out longer than all the other lines. Now, before I go any further, I want to select all, and it should be in Times New Roman, and it should be 12-point type. Just so you know, I spent my first career in printing. I can tell from a mile away if it's 11-point type instead of 12, and if it's any other font besides Times New Roman. So you got to get this part right. APA style says it's got to be Times New Roman, and it's got to be 12-point type. So this part's done. I'm going to save it so I know what I've done. And then later what I'll do is I will type in my summaries. So let's look at one that's got the summaries done. This is the example that you have. So the first line tells you what kind of source it is. This is peer-reviewed. Since I'm referencing a theory that's not this article, I need to give a reference to that theory, which is in the Crossley article. They talk about Mitchum, Holtum, Lee, Siblinsky, and Erez about 1 million times. In APA style, the first time you mention this, you put all of the authors in. Subsequent times that you mention it, let's say if I was going to mention it again here, it would be Mitchell et al., period, comma, 2001. So the first time you put in all the authors' names, and then the second time, if it's 3 or more authors, you just put the first author's last name, et al., period, comma, 2001. If it was Mitchell and Holtum, and Mitchell and Holtum did write an article, it would be Mitchell and Holtum, 2001, and every time you would list both authors. So if it's 1 author or 2 authors, you list both 1 or 2 names, all the names every time. If it's 3 or more authors, the first time you list all of the authors' last names, and subsequent times you do the et al. So I don't need a reference there. And you might not have a reference in yours. Mine just happens to be referencing this particular theory that belongs to these guys. So that is a journal or a scholarly source. And you have to have 4 of those in your annotated bibliography. Another one that you need is you need a credible source. So let's look to see what a credible source might be. In your research paper assignment, I believe it's in the notes that I gave you here. And I think I've downloaded these 100 times already. Here we go, the notes. I give you examples of credible sources. The best credible source will always be peer-reviewed journals. The reason those are the most credible sources is because they're based on original research that has been reviewed using a blind peer review process. That means a researcher like myself has written an article based on research that we did ourselves. And then we sent it to a journal editor who read it and reviewed it and decided if it might be good. Not that it was good, it might be good. If the journal editor decided that it might be good, they send it out to a panel of peer reviewers, other researchers in the field. I will never know who those other people are. They typically are blind reviews, and I might know them by their comments as reviewer 1, reviewer 2, and reviewer 3. Typically, there's 3 reviewers in addition to the editor. And they will send me back notes on what they liked, what they didn't like, what they didn't understand, what they didn't agree with. They might have disagreed with my methodology or my analyses. They can do all kinds of stuff. And then they can tell me that the editor can tell me that they've rejected the paper, that they're sending it back to me to revise and resubmit. And the revisions may be major revisions, they may be minor revisions, or they may be limited revisions. It is almost never happens that a paper would come back with no revisions. And through this revision process, eventually the paper might get accepted. So when you read these articles in journals, they haven't just been written and published. They've been written and they've been ripped apart by a group of people that are experts in the field until they feel like it is an appropriate journal article to publish. Textbooks are another good credible source. Publishers spend millions of dollars to publish textbooks, and they have a giant bank of editors that go through things. Some other credible sources that are not peer-reviewed might be the Harvard Business Review, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Money Magazine, the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Guardian, which is online, is very good. Human resource organizations such as SHRM or HRD Australia. Some very large universities, research universities, like the Wharton School of Business or Stanford University, they may have some articles on their websites. And then if you're having problems, talk to the librarians. Even if you're a remote student, you can call them up and they will help you. So let's go to Harvard Business Review and see what we can find there. And I got through an entire PhD doing my research online, so I know you can find stuff. So here's Harvard Business Review. And I'm going to search for intent to quit. No, those are all purchase options. I don't want anything to purchase. I don't want to pay for anything. Let's try this. Antecedents to intent to stay. I probably won't find anything. Oh, look. Oh, this. Why do employees stay? Okay, that might be cool. A clear career path and good pay for starters. All right, this might be a good article. So I think I'm going to save this one. It's by a guy who's got a PhD, so he's probably not stupid. His name is Chamberlain. And this article was written in 2017. So this article doesn't come as a PDF. And a lot of students have asked me, what do I do? Do I copy all the text into a Word document and make that a PDF? No, that's not what you do. What you do is in your browser, you go to print. And instead of printing to my printer, I'm going to save as PDF. And it's Chamberlain 2017. And there I go. I got a PDF of my article. So if I want to look and see what that really looked like. Oh, no. Sorry, my other screen's behaving badly. I can't show it to you. It's stuck over there. Yeah, and if I try and open it, it'll just be stuck over there. It made a PDF. That's the long and the short of it. It made a PDF, and you can always check your downloads folder or wherever you've got it saved and see that PDF. So now I need to cite this source. So this is a different source, but the source is cited properly using the author's last name and first two initials, the year and date, then the name of the article, and then the name of the publication. It was Harvard Business Review. And because we're getting it from a website and it's not one of the library databases we use the retrieve from. The ones we got from the library databases, there is no retrieve from. If you're not sure how to cite something, I expect you to do a Google search. I needed to know how to cite a movie one time. So cite movie, APA. How to cite a film or a movie. This is from BibMe, which is probably correct. So citing a film or a movie, the producer, the director, the release year, title of motion picture. You put in brackets that it's a motion picture, country of origin, and then the studio. So here's the listing for Pulp Fiction. Bender is the producer. Tarantino is the director. It was 1994. The name of the film. Notice it is not in sentence case, even though every time you see Pulp Fiction, you see the word fiction capitalized. This is APA style. It is not capitalized. The words motion picture is from the United States, and it was released by Miramax. So anything that you want to cite, you can Google how to cite it. And the other source that you should know, Purdue OWL. Know it, love it, use it. I use their APA style all the time. This is my go-to spot when I'm not quite sure, but I think I remember. And we are not doing MLA, Chicago, or AMA. We are APA style. Formatting and style guide is one of the most helpful things. Here's in-text citations. It tells you all about how to use citations in text. Authors and authors' names, when you include what. Here's work by 2 or more authors, 3 or more authors. Reference list, your basic rules, how it should be done. There is a sample paper here. It is the exact same sample paper that you will find. That keeps getting away from me. The sample APA paper right here is from Purdue OWL. So, okay. So let's go back to the annotated bibliography. So this example has 1 peer review, 2 popular press. The third one is a peer-reviewed article, and the fourth one is a peer-reviewed article. So in this case, this example has 3 peer-reviewed articles and 1 popular press. Your assignment says that you have to have 4 peer-reviewed journal articles and at least 2 other credible sources. So you have to have 6 for the annotated bibliography assignment. When you're formatting your summary, if you did what I did earlier and you formatted all of the references before you started writing, your paragraph ended up looking like this. You need to make sure that the reference has a hanging indent and that the summary has a first line indent, and it should all be Times New Roman, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, which is what's standard in Word. But if you want to be sure, you can go to Layout, Margins, make sure that it's 1 inch. And you can put an extra carriage return between the reference and its summary and the next reference, but you don't have to. If it's formatted like that, that'll be fine. Just an extra space will help me break it up visually. And you don't have to write a tome, but you do need to write a good summary of what's here. The idea behind the annotated bibliography assignment is to help get you started in your research and make sure that you're reading your articles so that you don't try and save this to the end. This is going to be a paper that is technical in nature. It is designed to make you think about what makes people stay and what makes people quit their jobs. So I want to make sure that you are getting into the research. That way, if you have questions, I can help you with that. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And let me find my camera. And Leslie, do you have any questions?
Yes, I actually do have a question. So
okay, great.
Once we submit to you our annotated bibliography, what if when we're writing our paper, we decide we want to change a source or we don't want to use a specific source? Can we change them, or once we send them to you, are we stuck with those?
No, you can change them. It may be that when you get deeper into your research that you decide, oh, that article by Crossley doesn't really fit where I'm going now. I'm not going to use that one after all. It's designed to get you started, and it's designed to get you headed in the right direction. And the other thing it's designed to do is to let me take a look at your APA style citations for your reference list, because that's usually the first place students stumble. And it'll give me an opportunity to give you feedback on those.
Okay. And then the last question is, when you're in Word, there's a way for you to go and cite a source. Will that give us the right APA format, or would that not be correct? Because I would have thought the one from McNeese off the library page was completely correct.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the things that I learned early on in my research. And I used to love that tool in Word. And I'll bring it up and show people what we're talking about here in case they don't know. Come here, let's get Word up. Okay, in Word, there is a section called References. And you can do Insert Citation and Manage Sources, and it's got Style APA. And I used to be a real fan of that, except I discovered that Word is imperfect too. I think you've got two imperfect ways of doing it. I would probably go and grab the reference from the library database and stick it in here and then just modify it.
Okay, that makes sense. That was my last question.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest thing to do. There's one other thing I haven't shown you that I'll take a minute to show you. This is one of my handy dandy research tricks. And I learned this while I was working on my PhD. So you know this has got to be good stuff. I had to come up with hundreds of sources for my PhD. I think I ended up with 600 sources. And I don't think that's a lie. So there's a service called Google Scholar. And if you're looking for additional sources, let's say you find that one great paper. So for me, I'll use the Crossley paper. You can put the title of the paper in this Google Scholar search bar, and it will bring back a reference to the article. It may even bring you a PDF of the article. But the other thing it does is it too has a citation thing. And this one also can be imperfect. The biggest problem I found with it is sometimes it doesn't have all the page numbers. So like right here, it doesn't have all the page numbers. It's got one of the page numbers, but not both of them. So this is another place you can get citations. But it has how many people have cited it, so you'll know if this is considered a really good article. 627 people have cited it, so it's not a bad article. But you've got this thing here called related articles. The related articles is one of the most awesome tools ever. This article by Lee and Mitchell, oh yeah. And look, it's Sablinski too. So it's 3 of those people that were listed in that article. And this is a 2004 article, also from the Academy of Management. Here's one from Holtum. So he talked about the unfolding model of job embeddedness. So these are all articles that are related. This is a wonderful tool. Once I found a really awesome article using the library databases, I would usually come here to Google Scholar and use that as sort of a hopping off point for other articles that might be something I wanted to read. And then once I found it, let's say this article here, I just copy it, go back to the library databases, and then search for that article. Oh, there it is. So that was one of the tools I used, and I meant to show you that earlier, but I'm glad you asked me the question because that prompted me to share it with you. Any other questions, Leslie?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and I will be posting a link to this video in our course. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much. Bye.
You're very welcome. Bye.